Greetings and salutations. It is Monday, September the 27th, and that means it's time for my News Radar. We're going to start off this News Radar with kind of a strange news story directly from the strange world that is Twitter. Because a Twitter user named Chad Christian, who is actually someone who does tech videos on YouTube as well as some like stock investment kind of stuff. I'll link his channel in the description down below because he seems like a relatively good, nice guy. So we'll give him a little plug for showing his tweets here momentarily. He had something kind of horrible happen to his Galaxy Z Fold 3. He has a bike mount, like a bicycle, and he would mount a Z Fold to it, something I've actually done myself, except his bike mount let go of his Z Fold 3 and dropped it on the pavement, resulting in some damage occurring. So we'll kind of let you see the damage that we're talking about here. And there's a reason I'm showing you this. There's actually a really good reason that I'm showing you this. Damage doesn't seem all that crazy, right? There's definitely something going on there at the bottom where there's like a screen protector that's kind of been like peeled, almost looks like. Peeling off that screen protector the rest of the way. You can see there's definitely a scuff and a crack on the corners, and then there's another one over on this corner. He actually did share a picture of the bike mount in question, and unfortunately when it popped out of the bike mount, it sounded like what he meant was half of the case pulled off at the same time, which allowed it to land on the device itself, caused some damage, but nothing that looked too horribly severe. He actually didn't show the inner screen because if I'm remembering right, I didn't look through all of his tweets. I believe that he said the internal screen was actually okay, which is kind of shocking, but there you go. And this is where the story gets really weird because this thing was under warranty, so he was going to send it back to Samsung to be replaced or repaired, whatever they needed to do. And that's when this happened. He was getting ready to box his Z Fold 3 up to send it off to Samsung, and the battery exploded, sending noxious fumes into the air surrounding. First thing I want to say is, I'm really glad this didn't happen in his pocket, in his house, on a nightstand. This could have been a real problem for someone. This is not a good look. I have a closer image here of exactly the kind of damage it did. Actually, you can see that it looks like it almost warped the backside here. I mean, that is some serious damage. Now, obviously, I shouldn't laugh. This is no laughing matter. I guess it is funny now that we know that no one got hurt, but I hope it doesn't happen to anyone else. Luckily, we've not seen a rash of exploding Z Fold 3s like we did with the exploding Galaxy Note phones from years gone by. And I don't think for any second that this is going to turn into some rash of exploding devices. Now, it would be easier to understand if, when he dropped this thing, if there was some kind of puncture wound that might have damaged the battery or something like that. I'm very curious to know, how did this thing fall in such a way that the battery was actually damaged? How was this battery damaged? Because it didn't look from the outside like too crazy of a fall. We see phones far more damaged than this all the time and they don't explode. Is this a problem that Samsung's going to have to be aware of? Is this just a freak accident? We really don't know yet, but there are a lot of Z Fold 3s out there in the world being moved around, and none of them have exploded thus far that I've seen. Only our lucky friend here, Chad Christian, apparently has experienced such an issue. So until we see further evidence, we're going to assume this is just a freak accident. These things do happen. Sometimes batteries just are faulty from the beginning, so they don't take as much damage before they're going to explode. We really have no idea what's going on here, so I would ask you this in the comments. Please refrain from making your judgment calls about what happened here because we don't have the data. Now, you can speculate, sure, throw out some guesses, but let's not turn this into a Samsung bashing type thing because I don't think we have the information yet to make such a proclamation. All right, now let's switch gears back into my normal wheelhouse and let's talk about Surface Duo. So on Saturday, I posted a video kind of talking about and exploring the idea that Microsoft had left the original Surface Duo in its rear view mirror in order to work on Surface Duo 2. And after I recorded that video, but yet before I posted it, it was announced that Android 11 would be coming to the original Surface Duo by end of the year. And so I had to go back and record a little extra segment and insert that into that video because I needed to give that context. Well, now we're going to actually go over that news a little bit deeper here in this episode of News Radar. Obviously, we know Microsoft has been working on Android 11 quite hard over the last year and some change, whatever it's actually been. And we know that the Surface Duo 2 will be shipping with Android 11 on board. We've been wondering for so long, it's going to be summer, it's going to be by the end of summer, September, it's going to be October, it's going to be August. When is Android 11 coming to Surface Duo? Well, now we have this information that Microsoft is saying. We're going to read this here from The Verge because they're the one that got the quote. We remain committed to providing updates for Surface Duo, and we're working to bring Android 11 to existing customers before the end of this year, says a Microsoft spokesperson in a statement to The Verge. So we have them committing that they're trying to bring this thing by the end of the year. Hopefully that is something that does happen. Obviously, it's way late as it is, and it's not a good look how late it already is. In fact, most Surface Duo users at this point, it's become a really big issue. Not even necessarily because we want the features of Android 11. I think more than anything, it's because we feel like we've been left behind. We feel like we gave you $1,400, and in return, you've just sort of left us out to dry, and it's not a good feeling. And what's more unfortunate is we don't even know why it's taking so long. Is this issues with trying to get some of their digitizer drivers updated to work better with Android 11? What is this? What is taking so long to get Android 11 running? We're going to have Android 12 coming out in like the next 2 weeks or something like that. So there's a lot of mystery here when it comes to Surface Duo and Android 11. And I think that's, again, what leaves such a sour taste in so many people's mouths. Now, we do have a little bit of information about what Android 11 might look like on the Surface Duo 1 because we've seen a little bit about what it looks like on Surface Duo 2. So I tweeted this out, a little screen cap from an Engadget video, and you can see here the pull down bar, the notification shade on Surface Duo 2. And of course, if you compare that to a device that is running Android 11 already, you can see that it does look the part. This is definitely an Android 11 looking notification shade. Now, I've gotten some information from people like Daniel Rubino on the Windows Central podcast. As you can see, the notification shade fills up like 80% of the width of the device now instead of being, super skinny in the middle. I know that bothered some people in a weird way, but they seem to have addressed that. I think when you pull the shade down again, you're supposed to get both volume and screen brightness, which is going to be really good if you're in tint mode and you want to change that volume. But other than that, we really don't know a lot about what Android 11 looks like on a Surface Duo device, whether it's the first one or the second one. We also have a couple more quick news stories about Surface Duo 2, things I've been getting asked about a lot. So the first one comes directly from the Surface Twitter account where they answered someone's question. They said here, Surface Duo will be available in Australia, Canada, Germany, France, UK, and the United States on October the 21st with pre-orders available in select regions. So from that tweet, it sounds like pre-orders are open in the United States. If you look in other regions like Canada, it says coming soon. So I don't think pre-orders are available in those areas. But apparently on October the 21st, Surface Duo will be available in those areas. So that is good to know. There is still some confusion as to whether or not, some of these areas like Australia, when you go to the Surface Duo, it talks all about business. It's Surface Duo 2 for business. So there's some confusion still as to what that means for the average consumer, but we don't have too much longer to go before we find out. And the other thing I wanted to tell you is similar situation here, answering questions on Twitter. Surface Duo is rated with IPX1. So what that means is when you see IP68, IP, whatever, what that means is the first number is dust resistance. The second number is water resistance. So Surface Duo 2 has no dust resistance at all because it is an X. And the 1 means it is the most basic level of water resistance. So if you're out walking through and there's like a little rainstorm, but it's not super windy, it's not an absolute downpour, your Duo 2 should be okay. That just does not protect it from being submerged. You don't want to submerge it in water. Probably not going to survive that, but it does have at least a little bit of water resistance on board this time around. And the last news story I want to bring to you today is kind of actually insane. We know that Apple has slowly been transitioning some of its devices from Lightning cable over to USB-C, like some of their iPads. This is a good thing. But strangely, they continue using the Lightning cable on their iPhone devices rather than switching them to USB-C as well. They remain essentially the only outlier, the only phone maker that doesn't use USB Type-C on their devices. And that has actually rubbed some governments wrong. We jump over to this article from Tech Radar. It says a big change should be coming to future iPhones, and it's not one that Apple wants. The European Union, the EU, has announced plans to force smartphone makers to include a USB-C port on their devices so that there's a universal smartphone charger for all users. And we can get into exactly why they would do that, what their justification is, and I think that there's some obviously good reasons. For one, this is just bad for consumers to have to, USB-C cable can charge and access all my devices but my iPhone. Now I have to buy a second cable. That just sucks for consumers, if I'm being honest. And also, it's bad in general because now you have to have duplicate cables. That's wasteful in terms of everything. It's wasteful in terms of everything. So basically what this means from what I'm reading is that Apple has about 2 years to switch from Lightning to USB-C. And here's what's interesting. They could just switch to USB-C and everything would be totally fine. Or they could do the thing everyone's been, murmuring about for the last few years, and they could go portless. They could use their MagSafe puck on the back of their device for data transfer, and they could just say, you know what? This was the push we needed to just have no cables, no ports at all being plugged directly into our iPhone, which I think is another strange and probably terrible idea for the consumer. When you talk about, data speeds, you could probably do okay with that, but charging speeds without generating a ton of heat through a coil, there's some room left to go. Maybe they could steal some tech from that VOOC charging over there by OnePlus's parent company. I don't think that's something they're going to do, though. But at any rate, a lot of people are celebrating, yay, USB-C on iPhone. We don't know that's what they're going to do. They could do something totally out of left field and do something insane here instead. What do you think they're going to do? Are you happy to see in 2 years maybe the death of the Lightning cable? Maybe they'll just do USB-C and this will be great. Who knows? Speculate in the comments down below. So that's all the news I have for you today. You may have noticed that the join button is active again down below. If you'd like to become a member of the channel and help support the channel, please do feel free to do so. I'll have a community post out in the next little bit to explain why the join button left and why it's back again. I've got some good reasoning, I guess, there. Stay tuned for more content just like this, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.